Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm just gonna talk about a few things until maybe some of my patrons arrive. So this is the first time I've done our like monthly, bi-monthly patron chats via a live stream. So this could go incredibly well or just really poorly. I'm gonna check a few things. Okay. I don't know if that's gonna work. Okay. Um, what to do? Maybe I'll just talk a little bit about what Patreon is because I feel like this is going to get posted eventually on my YouTube channel. So it makes sense that you guys know what this is, like what this community is. So let's see. Okay. Patreon is a subscription model. It's for artists, for creators. It's not just for singer-songwriters like myself. It's for really anyone who is creating something of value to other people. And it's a way of offering up what you're making and seeing who the willing hearts are to come alongside you and help fund the forever creation of it or for whatever duration of time they can. So it's different from Kickstarter and Indiegogo and things like that, and that it's not based around like a single project or series of projects. That the idea is you put your craft out there in the world, and patrons of the arts or your craft who believe in you or believe in what you're making, or both and, can partner with you and come in at whatever tier of giving they can sustain. And in return, creators like myself, we all build and offer a variety of incentives or perks. We call it different things. I've seen patron perks, incentives, prizes, kickbacks, all those kind of things to describe the gives. So someone doing what I'm doing with maybe more uh, fame might be able to offer like multiple albums or like VIP passes on tours or uh, like collaboration. But if you're a smaller creator artist, you basically just offer what you can while you can with the hopes that you can just keep adding to it and building it and mixing it up as your Patreon family changes. So I'm going to pause real quick and I'm going to look at a patron. I feel like a patron just commented. And it's probably like, wait, what are we doing? This is weird. Oh no, it's just my own post that went live. That's silly. Okay, so that's Patreon. I joined Patreon probably, I should know this, 6 years ago? No, it's probably longer. It's I've been on Patreon shorter than I've been on YouTube. YouTube is how I got to Patreon because I had been posting original content and covers and collaborations, and one listener on YouTube, Robert, was like, "Have you heard of this thing Patreon that's launching?" Um, Two YouTube artists who had not been able to sustain or earn enough to live off of, even with all the work that they were putting into and creating. And they had a huge subscriber count, so way further or way more than I have. So for their numbers to be so high and their output being so much and so high of quality, but still not being able to like earn a wage that they could live on, it caused them to step back and say, like, is there a better way of doing this? Because those of us who are on YouTube, there are ways to monetize videos with ads, with affiliate links. But at least at like 6 years ago, you could have tons of subscribers and you could be monetizing everything and still not making enough to live on if that was your only job. I'm grateful it was not my only job, but I knew that I'd like there to be a day where I would have the option or choice for it to be my job, being my music. So I joined Patreon, and really just experimented with what kind of perks I could offer that felt really good and life-giving for me to share with my patrons, and then got feedback from them, some of it like just outright, some of it just by what they responded to, and have tried to be diligent with the time I do have to tweak it along the way and do more of the things that make me excited and seem to be valuable to them, and to do less of the things that make me not excited and seem not very valuable or invaluable to them. I might have just used that word wrong. Um, okay. So if you're joining, I see there's a couple of us in here. If you're a patron, can you join the little chat on the side? And you're welcome to ask any questions and direct what I talk about here. That would be preferred. So I'm not just, you know, doing what I'm doing right now, which is just roaming in my language. But until you have questions or comments that I can engage or respond to, I will just keep chatting about what Patreon is and why I'm doing it and what it's opened up for me. So 5-6 years ago, started Patreon, and I was super freaked out. It I was it was weird to give people an open door into like the nitty gritty parts of my writing, because that's a lot of what I had to offer in the beginning was my process and my story, and that fleshed out in like songwriting and live streams and chats and postcards and stuff like that. So it didn't feel sufficient in the beginning, but looking back at that now, I realize that that's like the meat of this, at least for my craft. Like if I was following someone on Patreon, which I do follow people, it's the gifts are nice. Those are special. Those are nice. But the reason why I come alongside a creator artist is usually for the why. Like, why are they writing? How are they going about this? What's spurring them on? What are they having to overcome to get to it? Like, that's the stuff that keeps me around. Hey, John. Thanks for joining. Thanks for adding a question. So what is next for you? I feel like that's kind of, thank you for leading the conversation. John kind of knows what's up next for me, because if you're in my Patreon familia, and or if you're connected to me in real life or on any sort of social media, you probably know that I have recently announced that I am retiring from teaching after 11 years, and I'm going to continue with my music, but in a full-time capacity. People have asked if I know what that looks like. The answer is yes and no at all. So the big yes is as spontaneous as I want to be. It sounds romantic to be spontaneous. Um, I'm not really spontaneous when it comes to these kind of life shifts. So we have definitely been planning out our finances, planning out an exit strategy, planning out, or at least addressing the fact that I really love teaching and I love my students and I love. Sorry, I just keep seeing this shadow. I think it's like mascara just smeared, but maybe it's just aging. It might just be me aging. Wow, I got lost. Oh, some of that planning has been planning how I'm going to deal with this loss of teaching youth in this capacity, because I will always be a teacher, but I know that this specific form of it, the schedule, the location, the people, like that is shifting drastically. And I am so excited to finally get to put my energy, all of it, and my energy and my efforts in like to funnel it in a direction that used to get just the last pickings. So eager for that. That's what we've been working for and planning for. But it is also really weird to leave something you're familiar with. You feel like you've invested a lot into to be a better version of that teacher, and just people. It's hard to leave people. So I've been planning my heart and mind exit strategy, and also have been building up some projects. Like Tyson and I were just working on some of it today. Um, Things that will definitely like support my efforts and our standard of living financially, but I'm building them in a way that's more meant to give me outlets to be social and collaborate with other people. And I don't know, all the things that might disappear if I were to remove myself from teaching. I'm trying to build back some of those pieces in a new way that aren't so time sucking and heart sucking. Um, yeah, it's not a dig on education. It's just, it's an all, it demands all. But yeah, let's summarize that in a statement just in case I just lost you. What's up next is I have about a week and a half, 2 more weeks as a teacher from that to move on to something else. Yeah. Another question. What you sing about and write about is teaching the people who hear you. Oh, that's not a question. That's a statement? That's teaching the people. What you sing about and write about is teaching. Oh, let me know if I'm interpreting this wrong, John. What I hear you saying is that my teaching is definitely not ending. It's just evolving into something else. But I mean, something I've been doing already, but I'm just going to give everything or more towards that. Uh, is that what you were asking or saying? Correct me if I'm wrong. I agree. Something switched, and it was good. When I got laid off for the fourth time and I was relocated to a middle school in the district. Yeah, it sucked, and I am so grateful that early on in my teaching career, it was made clear that who I am is not, it cannot be defined by my career. And I knew that. I mean, I had been taught that we are more than what we do, that even if you go through all the training, the education, and you can get all the accolades you want, but none of those things are actually you. It might be like an outpouring. So I knew that cognitively, but I didn't like know it until I did all the things that you're supposed to do. I did the schooling, and I did the process, and in some ways I had to jump through the hoops, and then I landed the job, and then I just could not freaking keep the job. Like I got laid off, and it was outside of my control. And that happened 4 times in the first 5 years. So it was an upheaval, but it forced a hand, and it made me really think about, like, on a practical level, what are other things I could do to take care of myself, to take care of my people? What other things do I love to do that could potentially be monetized that I would want to be monetized? Because some things I just don't have any desire to do in such a way that they could make money. And then it just reminded me that teaching education is happening if you're willing to engage it all over the place, and that some of the biggest things that I've learned have not been within the four walls of a classroom. So if I can change my mindset about that and just be really intentional about my encounters with other people and what I take from them, what I give to them, then maybe I can take that education background and skill set and you know, be really intentional about bringing it into all aspects, including my music. And not in a really cheesy, like overly obvious way. Like I'm not leaving education to become um this isn't bad, but I'm not leaving education to become like a traveling singer teacher who's like, I'm not trying to take the content from my classes and make songs where students can memorize content or concepts. And there's a market for that. And I have tried it and done it in my classes just because I'm willing to do whatever it took for people to connect with stuff. With that being said, I don't I don't want to do that. And I actually have some choice at this season in my life, which is a huge luxury that we hustled for, but I would like to do music in a way that teaches, but not like I don't want to teach econ through my songs, at least not explicitly. But I might talk about uh, inequality and systematic injustice in my songs, but it's not gonna be like one, two, three. These things are the reasons why people are, held down under system. I feel like I'm not gonna want to post this to my YouTube channel after this because I'm super embarrassed about how I'm talking. Anyways, John, I'm glad that addressed what you asked. I'm stoked. I'm gonna take a quick break, talk amongst yourselves, and by that meaning, John, talk to the person who's sitting next to you, and I'm gonna post something in Patreon that says, "Come join the chat." Mhm. Oh, a new person. Wow, my phone is really slow right now. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Let's see. I have to burp. Excuse me. Okay. Come check out stream on my Patreon channel. There. We'll see if Chuck can figure this out. Come join us, Chuck. So, I say that a lot. I posted a video right after I spoke with the school and the district and my principal and my students, and it's here on YouTube. And it walks through the whole process. So if you're really interested in that, I fear being repetitive and saying the same thing here. So I'll just redirect you to that video. It's probably a lot more concise. It's actually not concise. It's all over the place. But if you think it's way than what's going on right here. So Patreon, if you are interested in what it is and you want to use it yourself, or you know someone who could maybe benefit from having a platform like that, feel free to message me. I've done one of my perks on Patreon through Patreon. One of the higher tiers, I do like a creative mastermind of sorts, like basically all the things that would have been really helpful and beneficial for me earlier on in my YouTube and Patreon journey. I offered that kind of consulting for someone who's wanting to launch their music or has a project, and basically helping them skip through the things that really you don't need to learn on your own. There are things you need to learn on your own, but then there are all these other details that if you had someone who said, focus on this, don't worry about this, or this is how it works, whew, it could save you so much time. That would be so nice. But yeah, look at me plugging Patreon. I'm not getting paid for this. Well, I would get paid for it if you joined me, but like they're not sponsoring this. Yeah. So I'm not really sure where I was at before I started talking to address John's question. So I'm not going to return to it. I know what I'll do. That's my chair, by the way, that's making that creaky sound. That is not what you think it is. So one of the things I first offered as a perk on Patreon was kind of like an inner look into my songwriting process, which at that point, it took a lot for me to even call it like my songwriting process, because I just did it. Like I wouldn't have even called it intuition. Like if someone said, "Oh, you just intuitively know," I'm like, no, I just did it, and I'm not sure if it's any good. But I've grown a lot since then, not just in my hopefully musicianship, but also as a person. I feel like I've shaken off some of the stuff that kept me from valuing my process and the work that honestly it took to get to it. So that's why it's easier now. It's not that I think I've got it locked down as much as I'm old enough now where I'm like, man, I've been working on this for a while. So I do have a process that's working for me and is evolving. So, but back to what I was saying. Ugh, I get distracted really easily. I would post song lyrics and beginnings of songs that I wouldn't share publicly on YouTube because usually for Patrons, like they get this stuff early, but then everyone will get access to it eventually. So something that felt special was, hey, I'm gonna share the words or like the beginnings of the song before I moved on or changed it or chopped it up. Or here's the song that I tried out at an open mic. I thought it was trash, stuff like that. Like that was one of my perks. And I still do that. I should probably do that more. I don't think I do it as much, but that might be more of a time energy issue. But yeah, that's an example. If you are wanting to start your own creator page, is you start with what you can give and what is particular to your craft. So for me, the songwriting is a huge focus, and it's what I was wanting to work on. And I thought, why not bring them in on that? And I had to learn a lot of even. I learned some really good skills then, too, about how to open things up for critique and when to say this is just to share, and I want a sense of what you feel, but being better at asking more specific questions so as not to get a ton of feedback back that I wasn't wanting. I didn't know how to draw the line, so I'm getting better at asking for specific feedback now too from the people I want it from. Wah, wah. Okay. So I thought I could share with my patrons a song or two that I'm working on. Oh no. Like these are very unfinished. You're gonna get a little glimpse. Okay, very unfinished, I don't know. Yeah, we'll share some snippets. Mm-hmm. Okay, one sec. So this one, here's some insight, patrons. I just recently on Instagram posted some of these lyrics. I feel really settled about the first part of the song, the verses, I guess. I'm not sure if I like where it's going. I tried to redirect it the other night when I was working on it, but it didn't settle, like it didn't stick. So I don't know if I need to go digging for that same thing again or if it's just gone because it was trash. I don't know. I don't like that I just did that face again. Okay. This is gonna be rough, but this is it. Okay. If I'm a rose, leave me on the branch so I can grow thorns and have a chance to stay outside under blue skies. Don't know much about that rose and what she needs to make her bloom and grow thorns. If she's too tall in the cold, the frost lands and withers petal. This is the part I'm not really sure. Then see I've got more than one spring in me. Fragrant peace, I'm dancing around you now. I'm dancing around you now. I just need to admit that that is not how I sang it last time. Blue then seas, I've got more than one spring, got more than one spring in me. Fragrant peace, I'm dancing around you now. I'm dancing around you now. I don't know. Also, patrons, if you just joined, you can ask questions on the side and it'll direct what I'm saying. If not, I'm just doing my own weird thing right now. So if this is entertaining to you, then just sit, watch, listen. If this is bothering you, then do something about it. Ask me a question. Yeah, so I'm not sure about that chorus. I don't hate it. I don't know. I just don't love it. And sometimes I think if I don't love it right away, then that's my intuition saying that it's not going to stick. But time has also taught me that sometimes you just need to sit with it longer. So I'll sit with it longer. Okay, try again. If I'm a rose, leave me on the branch so I can grow thorns and have a chance to stay outside under blue sky. Don't know much about that rose and what she needs to make her bloom and grow thorns. If she's too tall in the cold, the frost lands and withers. The petals. Yeah, that part too. I'm not sure. Then seas, I've got more than one spring, got more than one spring in me. Fragrant peace, I'm dancing around you now. Blue then seas, I've got more than one spring in me. Fragrant peace. So I'm dancing around you now. I'm dancing around you now. That's it. Okay. So yeah, that's that one. And I'm writing it on cardstock that I bought to make cards. Like cards to give to people. But sometimes when I'm in here and I'm about to write, I kind of love and hate it about myself. I'll get impatient. I'm like, I can't find my notebook. I can't find something. And then I'll just pick up a random piece of paper. But then it becomes a habit because then I just start doing that. And like this one, can't even see it barely because it's gray. I'll play this one for you. Ooh. Okay. A few more. And then I'll answer any questions you have. And then I will let you be. Oh, this one is. So usually I put this one on electric because then I can use some pedals that create more of an ambient sound. That's on purpose, by the way. We'll see how this goes. Feel like a ghost. I am a ghost. city of crowded light, where what comments made, but I can't get to. I can't break through. I can't get to. So I can't touch you. I am cold. Feel like you go. You see through my chest. I go with the flow, but I dance alone. I can't get to. I can't break through. I can't get to. So I can't touch you. I can't touch you. I am gold. Can you see me going crazy now? Now, I'm embarrassed. You call me crazy now. Now, and you see me going crazy now. Now, I'm embarrassed. You call me crazy now. Now, can you see me going crazy now? Oh, now, I'm embarrassed. You call me crazy now. Oh, now, can you see me going crazy now? Oh, now, I'm embarrassed. You call me crazy now. Oh, now, I can't touch you. I can't touch you. 'Cause I am cold. This weird as my foot went fell asleep. Halfway through I was like, oh no. Okay. Yeah. That's that. But no, I guess why I brought this up, other than just a stall, because I don't know what to do with my face and my hands right now, and there weren't any more questions, was Patreon has kind of been this space, and I don't know if this is how other creators use it, but because I was still really trying to figure out how much of it I could give to music, and what I was trying to find a way to value what I was already doing while still trying to grow and do better. Like, I didn't just want to trash every part of my process, but I also, I don't know what the other side of that spectrum was. This was just something I had to offer patrons, was process. It was the conversation, it was the storing, it was opening it up to critique or feedback to a certain degree. Early on it was like open floodgates, and then I started to grow a little bit and realized I think I know more about what I want to know back from the people who are listening and digesting this. And so that's what Patreon has become to me. As a creator, it is a support financially, but it's, I mean, for those who are here, it's for me been more of like my community and courage. Just realizing that there are maybe people who are believing in my process or my words or the product that's coming out of this life enough to partner with me. So that does a lot. When people say they're not going to leave because they believe in it, then you can kind of stop stressing about following every new lead and just say, okay, then I'm going to hunker down and I'm going to try to do this well, intentionally, and have fun with it so that they can have fun with me. So, yeah. Patrons who are here, this was not meant to be a plug. I'm just talking about what Patreon is to me. So, yeah. Do you have any questions? Does anyone have any questions before I play you some other rando stuff? That last song, Ghost, is a lot more finished than the snippet I shared with you earlier. But it all started on little cardstock pieces of paper or my notebook, and then I would type it up and share it on Patreon or put a snippet on Instagram and be like, hey, what do you think? Oh, here's one. This one I've kind of finished. I think I'm going to add more into it, but I put a live version of it on YouTube. And I do a more, like one in my home studio soon. So patrons, if you're here, how about this? This will be our natural cutoff. If you have any questions for me personally, because this is our private live stream until it goes live for the rest of the world. If you have any questions, I would love to answer your questions or hear how you are doing. So feel free to comment there. I'll sing the song, and then after I'll answer them, or I will say farewell, whatever happens. I should have practiced this one. We're out in open waters, broad daylight. You're a target by the hounding fish, she said. You're not as interesting as you thought you were. No one is listening. They've all gone home. I don't want to face the truth, and I don't want to face you. Got nothing left to say, nothing to prove, but that I've tried. Lured out into open wonder, say where you headed out loud. You're a target by the hounding bee, she said. You're not as interesting as you thought you were. No one is listening. They've all gone home. I don't want to face the truth, and I don't want to face you. Got nothing left to say, nothing to prove, but that I've tried. I tried, I tried, I tried, I tried. I tried. I may have forgotten this next part, but we'll see. To leave, 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 leave out the burning window. Leave, 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 leave. Go out the burning window. Leave, 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 leave out the burning window. Away. Leave, 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 leave out the burning window. I tried, I tried, I tried. Oh, I've tried, I've tried, I've tried. Leave, 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 leave. Go out the burning window. And that's it for now. Yeah. How about this, patrons? Instead of typing it, I'm just going to read you some of the lyrics to give you a quick snippet of the process. So this one I ended up calling it Leave. How original. And I don't like giving a ton of story anymore because I do feel like it maybe pigeonholes you, gets you stuck in a way where maybe you can't play with the song yourself about what it could mean. So, but maybe a line I'll share with you is says, "You're not as interesting as you thought you were. No one is listening. They've all gone home." This initially came out of this fear of like when I leave 11 years of teaching and all the framework that is like that shaped my schedule, my life, my sleep, my eating, my peeing, like everything's been shaped around that. My traveling home to my family, what funerals or weddings I could be there for. My fear was when I left that and jumped fully into this other thing, that what if the coolest part of me was the fact that I was in both? And what if I'm just not as interesting as I thought I was? Which is still possible, but sometimes writing out in a song helps. It's like a balm that even if it is true, I get to say it and flesh it out and process it myself, and no one's gonna like surprise me by that. Yeah. So here are the lyrics. Lured out into open waters, broad daylight, you're a target by the hounding fear. She says you're not as interesting as you thought you were, and no one is listening. They've all gone home. And the like pre-chorus or chorus is, I don't want to face the truth, and I don't want to face you. I've got nothing left to say, nothing to do, or to prove. But I've tried. I've tried. I've tried. Anything. That's true. And then it's lured out into open wonder. Say where you're headed out loud. You're a target. Okay. I'm tempted to over-explain stuff. I'm just gonna let it hang. And then it repeats. She says, you're not as interesting as you thought you were. No one is listening. They've all gone home. I don't want to face the truth. I don't want to face you. I've got nothing left to say, nothing to prove. Because I've tried, I've tried, I've tried. And then that last, like, I don't know, tag is So go and leap, leap, leap out the burning window. And it just repeats. Yeah. Cool. That's that song. I'll type it up and put it on Patreon. I'll do it tonight. How about that? Tell myself. The other one I shared with you guys on this random piece of paper that I can't find now. That's weird. Oh. If I'm a rose, leave me on the branch so I can grow thorns. This is the first one I shared with you guys. And have a chance to stay outside under blue skies. I don't know much about that rose or what she needs to make her bloom and grow. She's too tall in the cold, the frost lands and withers the petals. Bloom then cease, I've got more than one spring in me, a fragrant piece. I'm dancing around you now. So this isn't like the meat or the meaning of the song, but the visual, why I paired the story with this is we have some roses in our front lawn that I have done a piss poor job of taking care of. In the beginning, it was ignorance. Like I just didn't know. Like I didn't really have a yard growing up mostly ever. And when we did, it was, you just like weed whacked it to keep it low and then picked up the mango seeds. So to have actual plants where people are like, at this time of the year, you should trim them and then you should keep them at this height and then blah, blah, blah. And then when the weather shifts, they could die. And you're like, oh my gosh, there's so many ways that these things can die and fail. So I've done a really poor job of it. And we've gotten some help recently on them just so they could maybe survive. And I looked out the other day, not the other day, because I wrote this a few weeks ago, a month ago, and just saw like these roses thriving, but how like fragile they are. And I guess someone's gonna like correct me and be like, roses are actually really resilient and they can live through anything, but they can't live through me. I kill plants super easily. But yeah, there's like one, and there's a few of them that are bushes that are blooming, but the yellow one is like bright right now and thriving with all its thorns and petals and beauty. But yeah, there's more than one spring in them. They can bloom again. And then the other one, the one that's the most finished, that's like I've shared it at gigs fully and feel like it's pretty much where I want it to be, is I think I started writing it when I was back home with Tyson. We went home for like just a few days for my to celebrate my uncle. So this song is actually like not the story, the visual that helped narrate this thing in me came from being home amidst all the family in light of that loss. But this is not like, if you listen at all, you'll know it's not like singing about losing Uncle Keala. So this one is Ghost. It says, I feel like a ghost. I am a ghost. I'm sitting in a busy wake, attuned to all the comments made, but I can't get through. I can't break through. I can't get to you. So I can't touch you because I'm a ghost. Maybe this has more to do with Uncle than I thought. And then it's, I feel like your ghost. You see through my chest. I go with the flow, but I dance alone. Sorry, this part's not written on here. I don't know why. And then it repeats it. But I can't get through. I can't break through. I can't get to you. So I can't touch you. I feel like your ghost. And it's, can you see me going crazy now? I'm embarrassed. You called me crazy. And I can't touch you because I'm a ghost. That part repeats. So yeah, it's weird when you start saying the songs out loud, you realize maybe it had to do a little bit more with what was going on with the loss, like the things it unearthed. This is clear. The song is not about Uncle Keala, but losing Uncle and the ripple effects that sent out and like what it like brought up. That was that. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. I'll put this on. To my Patreon saints, all I'll do some sort of post or survey on my Patreon page to figure out if you have any options. We did the Google chat. I'm trying to move away from that, but if you have something to replace it that you think the most amount of you all would participate in on a bi-monthly basis, let me know. I'm willing to defer to that. We tried Discord. I feel like Discord is easy because it's just chatting. So if you're at work or out, or if you just don't like being on a video chat like Google Plus chat was, it'd be easier for you to enter into the conversation. But it seemed like some people wanted to see like video. So this was the next option, was a live stream that was private for patrons. I may have just done a really poor job of advertising it, so I'm not really sure. Too many variables right now. But I'll put that on Patreon, and you can let me know for our bi-monthly chats what you'd be most willing to engage with. And if most of you say this one thing, then I will give that a go again. But yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for loving me by showing up in this way. And that's it for now. I'll see you soon. Let me just say this. Talk to you next time. I just said talk to you next, Tim. I'm dumb. Okay. Farewell. Come find me on Patreon. Bye, everybody. Bye.